So we want to find the derivative of a fraction. How do we go about this? Well, let's look at an example. Let's say that f of x is equal to 1 over x squared. Now you'll notice we can't apply any of our derivative rules to this fraction because it's a fraction. So one thing we can do is get it into a state where we can apply the derivative rules. That's the first thing we have to do. So in order to do that, we just need to move x squared to the top. We just need to move x with our exponent to the top. And by doing this, we turn the exponent into a negative, but we also turn it into make it like less of a fraction. So this would look like 1x to the negative 2. And when we're here, we can start using our derivative rules. And in this case right here, we could use the power rule. And when we use the power rule, we just want to essentially bring this down here and multiply it by 1 and then minus 1 here. And if we apply that, it would just be 1 times negative 2 x to the negative third, because remember, we're minusing 1 from negative 2, and negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. So it looks like it's going up, but it's actually going down, and we want to continue to take 1 away even though it's negative. And now we just need to clean things up here, and then we also need to do one last thing. So this area right here would just be negative 2, because 1 times negative 2 equals negative 2. And then we have x negative 3. See, when we're here, we need to make it so that our negative 3 is a positive number, because we can't keep a negative exponent. So we need to move this back to the bottom. We need to draw a line and move it back to the bottom. And that would make it a positive 3. So, in the end, the answer is the derivative, or f prime of x, is equal to negative 2 over x to the 3, x cubed. And that's how you would solve it. And it gets harder with more things, more fractions involved, but it's essentially the same thing. Now let's look at a bit harder example with bigger numbers other than 1. So let's say f of x is equal to 6 over x to the 6th. So pause and see if you could solve this on your own, and if you can, that's great, and I'm going to solve it right now, and you can see if you get that right answer. So the first thing we want to do here is move. We're looking for the derivative, so I don't think I mentioned that. We want to move this to the top, and that leaves us with 6x to the negative 6th. Remember, this becomes a negative when you move it to the top. And after this, we want to use the power rule, bring the 6 down, and then minus 1 here. And then that essentially leaves us with 6 times negative 6x to the negative 7th. And now we want to clean this up right here, which would just be negative 36x to the negative 7th. And now we just want to take this part and move it down. Move it down, which would make it x to the 7th. And we got rid of that. So 36. And our final answer, we can write it out here. F prime of x is simply just equal to negative 36 over x of 7. that is our answer. Okay, now let's try a bit trickier problem. Let's see if you could solve this problem as well. Okay, so this is our problem right here. See if we can manage to solve it. Pause and see if you could do this yourself. And if not, I'm about to solve it right now. Okay, now in this case, we still want to find the derivative of x. So derivative of g of x, which is g prime of x. So we can apply the constant rule to this and just get rid of it because it cancels out. There's nothing here, so there's no power. We don't need to do anything with that. It cancels out. And we need to still do all these. Basically, we need to divide this up and do the same thing to each one that we did before. So I'm going to do this one first. Remember, there's a negative here. So you want to keep the negative. -3. And then move this to the top, which would make it x to the -5th. Okay. And now let me change my color so we could do this one right here. And this one might be a little tricky because you see that there's actually 2 here. We don't want to move that 2 up. We just want to move this one up, just x to the 4th. That's all we need to move up. We can keep this at the bottom and it'll work out in the end. So it's a plus sign, so we just do add 1 x to the -4th, because remember we move this up, and then 2 stays here because that's not part of this rational expression at this point. And now we have minus, and then we just want to move this up. Let me write this in a different color. Just want to move this. We just want to move this up, and that would just equal x to the -1. So 2x to the -1. Because remember, there's a 1 here, an invisible 1 at all times. Okay, now we need to apply the power rule and clean some stuff up. Okay, so this one's going to go down, this one's going to go here, and this one's going to go here. So we have -3 times -5 x to the -6th plus 1 times the -4th x to the -5th and over 2. And here we have minus -1. Just bring the -1 down. So that would just make it, we could just solve this now, but I'll just do -2, -1, and x to the -2 right here. Okay, so let's solve this one right here. This gives us positive 15 x to the 6th. This one right here gives us -4 plus -4 plus -4 x to the -5 and over 2. Remember, got to keep that. And then this just equals plus, because this is a negative sign, so we could just change the sign, plus 2x to -2. And at this point, we want to just go ahead and move everything to the bottom. And that's what we'll have our answer. So we could put this. Actually, there's something else we could do in this equation before we move it to the bottom. We could actually get rid of this 2, because notice how this is a, and we could also just make this a minus sign because it's negative. But this can factor out. 2 divided by 2 would equal 0 or 1, and 4 divided by 2 would equal 2. So we can change this up here and make this a 2, and then we can get rid of our line here. Okay, so at this point now we want to start moving everything down. I know it's a little bit messy, but we just want to move everything down here. So let's let's write our lines here, put our arrow. We would make this x to the positive 6. This would become x to the positive 5th. And this would become x to the positive 2. So, and we would just get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. So in the end, derivative of g of x, let me write this in a nice color. G prime of x is equal to 15 over x to the 6th minus 2x to the 5th plus 2x to the 2nd. That is our final answer. Color it in a little bit. Anyway, yeah, hope this helped. Have a good day.